Hi there. Welcome to Sleep Stories Universe. You made it to the end of the day. Get comfortable, however your body wants to rest right now. There's nothing you need to do, nothing you need to figure out. I'll keep you company with a calm story, a little science, a little wonder, and a lot of quiet. Tonight, our gentle subject is the sea. Not the bright sea you know, the one that catches the sun and throws it back at you in the morning. A different sea, the one that lies beneath Antarctica, under the ice, in a darkness the daylight has almost never reached. If you stay awake, that's perfectly fine. And if you start to drift off, that's fine too. All right, let's begin, nice and slow. Our journey is called the ocean beneath Antarctica. We won't be crossing anything tonight. We'll be going down and under the ice, into the water below with nothing to reach and nowhere to be. This story stands on its own. There's nothing you need to have heard before. Everything you need will carry together, one step at a time. And if you've traveled with us before, across the frozen surface of Antarctica, or further out through the deep ocean and its dark and quiet water, then welcome back and welcome down. This is where the ice and the deep sea finally meet. Before we go any deeper, let me set the scene softly, with nothing you need to hold on to. The ice doesn't just sit on the land. Around most of the coast, it flows out over the sea and keeps going, a floating shelf of ice with open water underneath it. And down in that water, in the cold and the dark, there is life, more of it, and stranger than anyone once thought could be there at all. And a small, honest note before we go down, the same as always. Most of what we'll talk about, we know. It's been gathered carefully through thick ice by people who have only ever seen the smallest corner of this hidden sea. But some of it, we genuinely don't. More here, perhaps, than almost anywhere left on Earth. When we reach the edges of what's known, I'll say so softly, and we'll let the mystery stay a mystery. Even the name, a sea that has never seen light, is truest deep in its heart and gentler near the edges, where a little light still finds its way in. I won't smooth that over for you. Not everything has to be solved before you sleep. You don't have to keep any of it. Let it drift down past you, the way small things drift down through deep water, slowly and out of sight. So let your shoulders drop, let the room go quiet, and let's begin to go down, off the bright surface and into the dark water beneath the ice, without hurry, without expectation, and almost without a sound. The floating ice. That's where we begin tonight, right at the edge of things, where one enormous world ends and another one, hidden and dark, quietly begins. There's no hurry to get there, and nothing you need to picture perfectly. You can let the images arrive however they like, and let the ones that don't quite land drift off again, unbothered. There's nothing to hold on to tonight. No test at the end, nothing to carry, nothing to get right. If your thoughts wander off somewhere warm and far from all this ice, that's perfectly fine. I'll keep going softly, and you can come back whenever you like, or simply stay where you are and let the words carry on around you. Maybe take one slow breath before we start. In, through the nose, and then a long, easy breath out. There's no rush to any of this. We have the whole night, and we're going to spend it going down very slowly into one of the quietest places there is. So let your body grow heavy against whatever is holding it right now. That's all you need to do. Let's start at the coast, the place where Antarctica meets the sea. Now, when you picture the edge of a continent, you probably picture a shoreline, rock or sand meeting the water with waves rolling in against it. A line you could walk along, with land on one side and sea on the other. That's what a coast is, almost everywhere else in the world. But here, at the bottom of the world, the edge of the land is a stranger thing than that. Because here, in most places, the land never actually touches the sea at all. Something else lies between them. Ice. You'll remember, if you've traveled the surface with us before, that nearly the whole of Antarctica is buried under a single, vast sheet of ice. And that ice does not simply stop politely at the coastline. It keeps moving. Endlessly, under its own great weight, the ice flows outward, off the land and toward the sea, and when it reaches the edge of the continent, it doesn't stop there either. It slides straight out over the water and keeps going, still one connected sheet, now floating on the sea instead of resting on the land. That floating part has a name. It's called an ice shelf, and it is one of the most extraordinary things about this whole frozen place. A ceiling of ice, hundreds of meters thick, spread out flat across the surface of the sea, attached to the continent behind it, floating on the ocean beneath it, and holding for now, perfectly still. Let that picture settle for a moment. Not ice sitting on land, not ice floating loose, like the flat sheets of sea ice that freeze and melt each year. Something in between, and grander than both, a slab of the continent's own ice, so thick and so heavy, it took the land's whole weight to push it out here, now reaching out over open water with the dark sea moving quietly underneath it. And there is a great deal of it. These shelves are not some small feature tucked away in one corner. They fringe most of the continent's edge. Somewhere around 3/4 of Antarctica's entire coastline is not rock meeting the sea, but ice shelf meeting the sea. Only a small part of the coast, here and there, is what you or I would picture as an ordinary shore, where bare rock finally touches the water. Nearly everywhere else, the true edge of Antarctica is this: a wall of floating ice standing out over the ocean. So, if you sailed all the way around the continent slowly, the way we do everything tonight, for most of that journey you would not see a beach, or a cliff of stone, or a harbor. You would see ice. A long, pale, unbroken barrier of it, running along the horizon for mile after mile, rising sheer out of the sea, and giving almost nothing away about the water that lies hidden beneath it. Some of these shelves are enormous, hard to hold in the mind, really. The largest of them all, a shelf called the Ross Ice Shelf, is close to the size of France, a single sheet of floating ice. You could lose a small nation inside it and never find the edges, and it's only one of many. The coast is ringed with them, some smaller, some almost as vast, all of them doing the same quiet thing, floating out over the sea, holding the dark water down beneath a lid of ice. You don't need to keep any of those numbers. Let them go. What's worth holding, just for a moment, is the feeling of the scale, a rim of ice around an entire continent, so wide and so thick that from far enough away, you'd never guess there was an ocean underneath it at all. how thick is it? That's the part that starts to turn us downward toward where we're going tonight. An ice shelf isn't a thin skin floating on the surface. It's deep. In places, the ice runs down as much as 2 kilometers beneath the surface of the sea. 2 kilometers of solid ice reaching down into the dark water. And where it ends, out at the seaward edge, it can stand as a cliff. A sheer white face of ice rising as much as 100 meters straight up out of the ocean. A wall taller than almost any building you've ever stood next to, made entirely of ice, with the gray swell of the Southern Ocean breaking quietly against its foot. Picture standing at the top of that cliff, if you like, right at the very edge. Behind you, the flat white shelf, running back toward the continent as far as the eye can follow. And in front of you, a long drop to the water, and then the open sea, dim and cold and stretching away to the horizon, the wind moving over the ice, the slow sound of the water far below. And beneath that water, beneath the whole floating shelf you're standing on, a sea you cannot see at all. Stand there a moment longer and let the place settle around you. The cold here is clean and dry, and it carries a smell of salt and old ice. Underfoot, the shelf is firmer than you'd expect, packed hard by its own weight in the long years, and it doesn't shift at all. Though somewhere far below, if you held very still, you might feel the faintest rise and fall, the whole vast sheet lifting a hand's breadth and settling again with the slow breathing of the tide beneath it. That's the strangest thing to feel, I think, that this floor is not a floor at all, but a raft, solid as stone under your boots, and yet floating gently on water you'll never lay eyes on. A whole plain of ice, rising and falling with the sea, so slowly you could stand here an hour and barely be sure it moved. Because that's the thing to understand about where we are tonight. The shelf isn't the destination, it's the doorway. Let me show you the 2 edges of it gently, because they're the whole shape of the place. At the seaward end, out where you're standing, is the calving front, the outer edge, where the shelf finally meets the open ocean, and where, now and then, great slabs break away to drift off as icebergs. And far behind you, back where the floating ice first lifted off the land and began to float, there's another line, hidden and quiet, called the grounding line. That's the true border, the place where the ice stops resting on solid ground and starts floating on the sea. Cross it, going outward, and everything beneath you is no longer land. It's water. So somewhere between those 2 lines, between the grounding line behind you and the calving front ahead, you are standing on a floor of ice with an entire ocean sealed beneath it. A hidden sea, roofed over with ice, running back for kilometer after kilometer into the shadow, under your feet, right now. And it's worth pausing on how completely hidden it is. That water below has almost nothing of the world you know. No daylight reaches most of it. No rain falls on it. No wind stirs its surface, because it has no open surface at all, only a ceiling of ice, pressing down smooth and unbroken from edge to edge. Water could drift through that hidden sea for 100 kilometers and never once meet the open air. It is about as sealed off and sheltered a place as the planet has anywhere. A whole ocean, tucked in beneath a lid of ice, held in a stillness so complete it's almost hard to imagine from up here in the moving air. And yet it's real, and it's there, right now, waiting quietly under the shelf while you rest. That's the world we've come to visit. not the surface anymore, the sea underneath it. For all the nights we've spent up here, the cold, the wind, the long dark, the light that comes and goes overhead, we've been standing on the lid the whole time, on the top of the ice. And tonight, at last, we're going to slip over the edge of it and down into the water it's been resting on all along. There's something restful in just standing at that edge for a while before we go. You don't have to jump. You don't have to hurry down. You can simply stand at the top of the cliff in the quiet with the flat ice behind you and the dark water below, and feel the enormous calm of a place that has been doing this, flowing out, floating still, holding the sea beneath it for far longer than there have been people to watch. The ice doesn't rush. It has never rushed. It has taken tens of thousands of years to creep out over this water, and it will take tens of thousands more to do whatever it does next. There is nothing anxious anywhere in it, only weight and slowness, and a patience so deep it makes the whole idea of hurry seem very small. And you can borrow a little of that patience tonight, if you'd like. There's nowhere you need to be, nothing waiting for you at the bottom. We have all the time in the world to make this descent, and we're going to make it as slowly as sleep itself. So take one more easy breath up here at the edge where the ice meets the sea. Feel the flat white surface behind you, solid and endless. Feel the long, quiet drop in front of you, down to the dark water, and know that there's nothing to fear in it at all, only the deep, still sea, waiting patiently beneath the ice, exactly as it has for age upon age. For tonight, that's where we begin, at the floating edge of a continent, on a ceiling of ice above a hidden ocean, with the whole slow descent still ahead of us, and nothing to do for now, but stand here in the quiet and let ourselves grow ready to sink. The edge of the ice can hold you here as long as you need. There's no hurry to go over it. We'll begin to go down when you're ready, and not a moment before. Under the shelf, that's where we're going now. Down off the bright edge we stood on last time, and under it, into the water that's been waiting beneath the ice all along. There's no need to brace for it. This isn't a fall. It's a sinking, the slow and gentle kind, the kind that asks nothing of you, but that you let it happen. So let yourself begin. You don't have to picture it perfectly or follow every step. You can just let the surface soften behind you and let yourself drift downward, the way you're already drifting towards sleep. We were standing, you'll remember, at the very edge of the floating ice, the flat white shelf behind us, the long drop to the sea in front, and beneath the whole of it, kilometers of it in places, a hidden ocean, roofed over with ice. Well, tonight we go in. Not over the edge exactly, down through it, in the mind, the way you might sink slowly through cold water until the surface closes over you and the world above grows quiet and far away. Let's go slowly. There's no hurry at all. The first thing that happens as you sink is the light. It changes. Up at the surface, out beyond the shelf, the sea is lit, gray and green and moving, with the pale sky above it. But here, under the ice, there's no sky. The ceiling overhead isn't air. It's ice, hundreds of meters of it, in places far more, pressing down smooth and unbroken from one horizon to the other. And ice that thick lets almost nothing through. So as you drift in beneath it, the light doesn't fade the way it does at dusk softly, from every side. It fades from above. The bright ceiling dims and dims, and then it's gone, and there is no more light coming down at all. Here is where I want to be honest with you softly, because it matters, and because it's the very thing this whole journey is named for. You may have heard this called a sea that has never seen light, and in the deep heart of it, far back under the ice, that's very nearly true. Travel far enough and beneath a great shelf, and you reach water that the sun has, as far as we can tell, simply never touched, not once, not ever, in all the time the ice has lain over it. But it isn't quite so absolute everywhere, and I'd rather tell you the real shape of it. Near the outer edge, out by that seaward cliff, a little light still leaks in, down through the water at the open front, and in thinner places, faintly, through the ice itself. So the darkness isn't a single flat wall thrown across the whole sea at once. It's more like something that deepens the farther in you go, thin and gray and dim at the edges, where the day still reaches a little way under the ice, and then thicker and deeper, and finally complete as you drift inward, away from the open water, toward the heart of the sealed sea. A darkness that gathers rather than a darkness that simply is. There's something gentler in it, put that way, I think. You don't cross a hard line into the black. You sink into it slowly, the way you sink into sleep, a little dimmer with each moment, the light thinning behind you, until, without any single instant you could point to, it's simply lightless and calm and complete. And it's worth knowing, just once, how far this sealed water reaches. You'll remember the two edges of the shelf from before, the calving front, out at the open sea, and the grounding line, far back where the ice first lifts off the land and begins to float. Everything between those two lines has this ceiling of ice above it, and that can be a very great distance indeed. The water beneath a large shelf can run back 100 kilometers and more from the open ocean, all of it roofed over, all of it in this same gathering dark. So when you drift inward, away from the faint gray light at the edge, you're not moving through some small pocket. You're crossing into a hidden sea the size of a country, held in shadow, under the ice, from edge to edge. And you don't have to hold on to any of that. Let it go. Let it fade the way the light fades from above and settle into the quiet with everything else. So let's just be here for a while in the unlit water under the ice. And let me tell you what it's like, not to frighten you, never that, but because it's one of the most peaceful places the mind can go. It's still. That's the first thing. Extraordinarily still. Out in the open ocean, water is always moving, wind dragging at the surface, waves rolling through, the whole restless skin of the sea forever in motion. But here, under the shelf, there is no wind, because there is no surface for the wind to touch. The ceiling of ice seals it all away. So the water down here moves only slowly, in vast, patient, unhurried drifts, the kind of motion you'd never even feel. No waves, no chop, no sudden anything. Just a deep, cold, sheltered stillness held beneath the ice, hour after hour, year upon year, more settled than almost any water anywhere else on Earth. And it's cold. Of course it's cold. This is water kept right at the edge of freezing, cold enough to be ice already, were it not for the salt dissolved in it and the deep pressure of the sea overhead, both working quietly to keep it liquid. But you don't have to feel that cold tonight. You're only visiting in the mind from somewhere warm and safe. So let the cold be something you notice gently, without it ever touching you, the way you might watch snow fall past a window from inside a warm room, glad of the glass. And it's quiet. Perhaps that's the truest thing of all about this place. We think of the sea as full of sound, waves, and wind, and the calls of things that live in it. But here, under the ice, there's almost none of that. No surface for waves to break against, no storms overhead. Only the enormous hush of a sealed sea, so complete that the smallest sound, a shift in the ice far above, a slow current turning somewhere in the deep, would carry a long, long way through the black, and then fade, and leave the silence exactly as it was. It's the kind of quiet that has a weight to it, not an empty silence, a full one. The deep, close hush of a place the noise of the world has simply never reached. Let yourself rest in that hush for a moment. There's nothing down here that needs you to do anything. Nothing to watch for, nothing to listen for. Only the deep and the cold you can't feel, and the great sheltering stillness of the water, holding you softly on every side. Because that's the strange gift of a place like this. Up on the surface, everything was exposed. The wind, the cold, the wide open sky, the long light and the longer dark, all of it pressing down on that thin, bright skin of ice. But down here, beneath the shelf, none of that reaches. The weather can't touch this water. The wind can't stir it. Even the turning of day and night, the long polar seasons of light and shadow we spent so many nights with up above, none of it means anything down here, where it has always been unlit and always been still and always been quiet, no matter what the sky is doing far overhead. It's about as sheltered a place as there is. A whole ocean, tucked in beneath a roof of ice, kept safe from every restless thing that moves across the surface of the world. And there's a deep kind of peace in that, once you let yourself feel it. To be somewhere so completely held, so completely out of the wind, so far from anything that could hurry you or startle you or ask anything of you at all. You might let yourself feel a little of that shelter now, wherever you're resting. The way this water is roofed over and held, you're held too, by the dark of the room, by the weight of the blanket, by the hush of the hour. Nothing out there in the night can reach you here, any more than the wind can reach the water under the ice. You can let yourself be just that held, just that still. And notice, if you like, how the darkness here isn't a thing to be afraid of. We learn somewhere young to be wary of the dark, to feel that something might be hiding in it, that the light going out is a kind of loss. But it isn't like that at all down here. It isn't the absence of anything. It's simply the natural state of this place, the way it has always been, the way it was always meant to be. This water has never known light and has never wanted for it, and has rested here perfectly at peace for longer than there have been eyes anywhere to miss the sun. The blackness isn't empty here. It's full of water, full of stillness, full of a deep and ancient calm. And you can let it be that for you tonight. Not a light gone out, but a softness drawn close. Not something missing, but something wrapped gently all the way around you, holding you, the way it holds the whole sealed sea. There's a slowness to everything down here too, that's worth sinking into for its own sake. Nothing in this water hurries, because nothing has any reason to. The currents turn so gradually You could drift with one for a day and hardly know you'd moved. Whatever lives here, and things do live here, as we'll find in the nights ahead, live slowly, in the cold, at a pace the surface world would find hard to imagine. Time itself seems to loosen and spread out down here, the way it does in the last soft minutes before sleep, when one moment and the next stop being separate things and simply pool together into one long, calm now. You don't have to keep track of any of it. There's no clock down here, no morning coming, only the slow, patient turning of a sea that has never once been in a hurry and never once needed to be. And we've barely begun to go down. That's the thing to hold in mind, or rather, the thing you don't have to hold at all, but might like to know. This dark, still water under the ice isn't the bottom of anything. It's only the beginning of the descent. Below us, the water goes down and down into deeper gloom, all the way to a seafloor no eye has ever seen. And over the nights to come, we'll drift down toward it slowly and find what waits there in the cold and the quiet. But not tonight. Tonight, we only needed to slip in beneath the ice, to leave the bright surface behind and feel how still it gets, and how sheltered and how calm once the ceiling of ice closes over and the light lets go. For now, that's enough. A sea beneath the ice, dark and cold and endlessly quiet, and you drifting somewhere in the gentle dark of it, held on every side, with nowhere to be and nothing to do but sink a little further toward sleep. Let the ice close softly overhead. Let the last of the light go, and rest here in the sheltered dark for as long as you like. Blood that cannot freeze. That's a strange thing to say out loud, isn't it? Blood that cannot freeze. But there's a creature down here, in this cold, dark water beneath the ice, for whom that's simply true. And once you've met it, this whole frozen sea feels a little less empty and a little more wonderful than it did before. We've spent the last little while sinking into the dark, feeling how cold and still and sheltered it is under the shelf. And somewhere in there quietly, you might have wondered the thing that everyone wonders, sooner or later, about a place like this. Could anything actually live here, in water this cold, this dark, this far from the sun? It seems like it should be impossible, and for a long time, people thought it very nearly was. But it isn't. Life found its way even here. And tonight, gently, I want to introduce you to one of the strangest and loveliest examples of it. Not to study it exactly, but just to marvel at it for a while. The way you might pause over something wonderful in a museum without needing to know how every part of it works. Let's start with the water itself and why living in it is such a remarkable thing to do. The sea down here is cold in a way that's hard to imagine. Not winter swim cold, not ice bath cold, colder than that, and stranger. This is water hovering right at the very edge of freezing, so chilled that, by rights, it ought to be turning to ice. The only reason it stays liquid at all is the salt dissolved in it, which nudges its freezing point a little lower than fresh waters. So it sits there, just below zero, a whole sea of water that is somehow colder than freezing, and still somehow water. A sea that is almost ice and isn't, and holds itself in that impossible in-between hour after hour, year upon year, without ever quite tipping over into solid. And here's the trouble with living in water like that. If you're a fish, if you have blood and bodily fluids, and all the soft, wet workings of a living thing, that cold is a genuine danger. because your insides are less salty than the sea around you, which means they'd freeze at a slightly higher temperature than the seawater does. So in water this cold, a normal fish is in real peril. Ice crystals could begin to form inside its own body. And once ice starts growing inside a living creature, it's usually the end. So how does anything manage it? Here's the simple version, and it's genuinely one of the most elegant little solutions in all of nature. Many of the fish down here carry a kind of natural antifreeze in their bodies, special proteins moving through their blood that do one quiet, clever thing. They find the tiny ice crystals as they try to form, and they latch onto them, and they stop them from growing. Any speck of ice that begins to appear gets wrapped and held and kept small and harmless before it can ever spread. It's not that these fish are warm. They're not. They're as cold as the water around them. It's that they simply cannot freeze solid because something in their blood won't let the ice take hold. Sit with that for a moment, because it's a lovely thing. These fish have been swimming in this near-freezing sea for a very long time. And to do it, they didn't grow fur, or warm themselves, or flee to somewhere kinder. They just quietly changed their own blood, so that the cold couldn't finish what it started. A fish swimming calmly through water cold enough to freeze it, carrying its own small, patient defense against the ice in every drop of blood in its body. There's something deeply peaceful in that image, I think. Not a struggle against the cold, just a quiet, permanent truce with it. And these aren't rare little curiosities tucked away in one corner. This family of cold-adapted fish with their antifreeze blood are the great majority of the fish that live in the Antarctic seas. Nearly all the fish down here belong to this one hardy group, the ones that solved the cold long ago and inherited a whole frozen ocean because of it. While other kinds of fish simply couldn't follow them into water this cold, these ones could and did and made it home. So the sea beneath the ice isn't fishless at all. It's full of them. Just fish of a very particular, very patient kind. But there's one member of this family that goes a step further really, than any other animal with a backbone anywhere on Earth. And it's the one I most wanted to show you tonight. It's called the ice fish. And its blood isn't red. Let that sit for a second, because it's such a strange and quiet marvel. Every other animal with a backbone, every fish, every bird, every creature like you and me, has red blood. It's red because of iron, carried in tiny cells, which is how the blood picks up oxygen and ferries it around the body. That redness is one of the most universal things about animal life. It's in you right now. It's in nearly every living thing you've ever seen. But the ice fish, alone among all the animals with backbones, simply doesn't have it. Its blood carries none of that iron and none of the red. It runs pale instead, colorless and clouded clear, more like milk-thin water than the red we all know. Picture that, gently. A fish down in the black under the ice, with pale, near-colorless blood moving through it, so unlike our own, you could scarcely believe it was blood at all. A ghostly, washed-out thing, drifting quietly through the still water, colorless within and without. It sounds almost like something imagined, doesn't it? But it's real. It's down there right now, in the cold and the dark, being exactly that strange, whether or not anyone is watching. Let yourself drift alongside one for a moment, in the mind. There's no hurry in the way it moves. Nothing down here darts or races or flees. Life in water this frigid runs slow. Hearts beat slowly. Fins move slowly. Whole lives unfold at a gentle, unhurried pace that the warm, bright world above could hardly imagine. So the ice fish doesn't dash away from you. It simply hangs there in the black and drifts and turns, pale and patient, its great slow heart moving that clear blood through its body, one calm beat at a time. Around it, more of them, scattered through the dark water, a quiet gathering of ghostly, colorless fish, each one perfectly at ease in a sea that would freeze almost anything else solid. There's no sound, no rush, just these pale shapes drifting in the near-freezing dark, keeping their patient, impossible peace with the cold. Now, how does a fish live without red blood when the whole point of red blood is to carry oxygen? Here's the gentle version, and then we'll let the details go. It turns out that very cold water can hold a great deal of oxygen, far more than warm water can. And this fish lives so chilled and so slow that it needs less oxygen than most fish do. And it takes what it needs straight from the water in the simplest possible way, carried along dissolved in that pale blood rather than packed into red cells. To manage it, it has an unusually large heart, moving a lot of that thin, clear blood through its body steadily, in the cold. It's a strange way to make a living, a little precarious even. But it works. It has worked for this fish for a very long time, down here where the water is chill enough to hold all the oxygen it will ever need. You don't have to hold on to how any of that works. Let the details drift off, the way we let everything drift off down here. What's worth keeping is only the wonder of it, a fish with pale blood and a great slow heart, living quietly in the coldest water there is, needing so little, asking so little, simply existing in the dark where almost nothing else can. Because that's the thing that stays with me about the ice fish and about all these hardy, antifreeze-blooded fish sharing the black with it. It would be easy to think of a place this frigid and this unlit as hostile, as somewhere life is shut out. But it isn't shut out. It's here, not fighting the chill, not railing against it, just quietly adapted to it, at peace in it, living slowly and calmly in water that would be the end of almost anything else. Life didn't conquer this place. It settled into it. It found a way to belong. And there's something restful in that, I think, to carry with you towards sleep. That even here, even in the coldest, darkest, most sealed-away sea on the planet, life didn't need to struggle or fight or force its way in. It just changed quietly over a very long time until the cold and the dark were simply home, until a fish could swim through freezing water with pale, calm blood and never once be troubled by it. There's a kind of gentleness in that, a reminder that hard places don't always ask for a hard life, that sometimes the answer to something difficult isn't to fight it, but to soften and adapt and slowly make your peace until the thing that once seemed impossible is simply the water you live in. There's a comfort, too, in how little these creatures need. We spend so much of our own lives reaching and gathering and wanting more. But down here is a fish that has pared its life all the way down to the quiet essentials, a little oxygen from the cold water, a slow beat of a slow heart, the dark to drift in, and wants for nothing beyond that. It isn't a hard life exactly, for all that it looks impossible from the outside. It's a spare one, a simple one, a life with everything unnecessary stripped away, leaving only what's needed to drift calmly through the dark and go on. And there's something almost enviable in that. From where you're lying now, the deep, uncomplicated peace of a creature that needs so little and rests so easily in a place with nothing to disturb it at all. So let that be the thought you rest on tonight. A pale fish with clear blood, moving slowly through the dark water beneath the ice. Not cold exactly, the same temperature as the sea, and perfectly at ease in it. Not struggling, not afraid, just quietly alive in a place that should have been empty, carrying its own small, patient defense against the ice, and asking nothing of the world but the still, freezing water it has always called home. For tonight, that's plenty. A sea too cold to live in, full of life that lives in it anyway, blood that runs pale as water, and a great slow heart beating softly in the dark, keeping one small creature quietly, impossibly alive. Let that slow heartbeat be the last thing you notice tonight, steady and unhurried, beating on in the dark, whether or not anyone is there to hear it. It has kept its slow time down there for longer than we've known these fish existed, and it will go on keeping it quietly, all through the night and long after. What the camera found. For a long time, this was one of the great unseen places on Earth. The water beneath the ice shelves, that sealed, dark sea we've been drifting through these last few nights, was almost entirely a mystery. Not because no one wondered about it, but because it's so very hard to reach. There's a roof of ice in the way, hundreds of meters of it, and beneath that, cold black water going down into the deep. You can't simply sail there. You can't look down from above. For most of human history, what lay beneath those shelves was simply unknown and quietly left that way. And then, not so very long ago, a camera went down. And for the first time, we got to see. Let's take our time with this one, because it's one of the loveliest small stories in all of this frozen world, and a gentle reminder that even now, even in a world that feels so thoroughly mapped and known, there are still doorways into places no eye has ever been. Here's how it happened, in the simplest version. A group of researchers were out on one of the great ice shelves, the Filchner Rana, one of the largest of them all. They weren't hunting for creatures at all, as it turns out. They were interested in the seafloor itself, in the mud and sediment far below. And to reach it, they did something quietly extraordinary. They drilled down through the ice shelf beneath their feet, down through some 900 meters of solid ice, nearly a kilometer of it, until at last they broke through the underside into the dark water sealed below. Think of that for a moment. Standing on a flat white plain of ice and boring a narrow hole straight down through the better part of a kilometer of it to reach a sea that no light has touched and that no one has ever seen. It's a slow, patient, painstaking thing to do. Not dramatic, really. Just careful work, in the cold, for a very long time, opening a single slender window down into the hidden dark. And they were very far from the open ocean. That's the part that makes what came next so surprising. This borehole wasn't near the edge of the shelf, where the sea isn't far away. It was deep in under the ice, around 260 kilometers from the open water. More than 200 kilometers in beneath the ice, to a patch of seafloor sitting in complete blackness, in water hovering right around -2 degrees. About as sealed away, and as far from sunlight as anywhere the ocean reaches. If you were going to guess where life might run out entirely, somewhere like this would be a fair guess. So they lowered a camera down the borehole, down through the 900 meters of ice and out into the black water beneath, and further still, down toward the seafloor far below. And they watched the little screen to see what was there. What they expected, most likely, was almost nothing. Perhaps some mud. Perhaps a few faint traces of life drifting past. In water this cold, this dark, this far from the sun, that's what the thinking said you'd find. A bare, quiet, near-empty floor at the bottom of the world. But that isn't what the camera found. It found a boulder, a single large rock sitting there on the seafloor in the dark. And on that boulder, quietly, impossibly, there was life. Not mud, not emptiness, creatures, a small community of them, fixed to the rock, holding still in the black water. Sponges mostly, simple, ancient animals, the kind that anchor themselves to a hard surface and stay there, drawing what they need from the water passing by. And among them, other things too, stranger things, some of them possibly kinds no one had ever seen before, all of it clinging to a lone boulder, in the dark, more than 200 kilometers from the nearest open sea. Let that land softly, because it genuinely astonished the people who saw it. This was not supposed to be there. Everything we understood about life in the sea said that creatures like these, animals that filter their food from the water, that need a steady supply of it drifting past, should gather where food is plentiful, near the surface, near the light, where tiny drifting plants grow and feed everything else. Not here, not in the sealed dark, hundreds of kilometers from any of that. And yet here they were, settled on their boulder, apparently getting on just fine. It was, by every account, a genuine surprise. One of those rare, wonderful moments when the world turns out to be quietly fuller than we thought. And here's the detail I find most moving of all. Of this entire hidden sea, this vast, dark ocean sealed beneath thousands of square kilometers of ice all around the continent, the total amount that human eyes have ever actually seen through boreholes like this one adds up to something roughly the size of a tennis court. A tennis court, out of an ocean the size of a continent's edge. We drilled a handful of narrow holes, lowered a few cameras, and glimpsed a few small patches of seafloor. And on one of those tiny glimpses, by pure chance, there was a boulder covered in life, which does rather make you wonder gently, what else is down there, across all the vastness we haven't seen? You don't have to hold on to the numbers. Let them drift off. What's worth keeping is just the feeling of it, a lens lowered into the dark, and life looking back in a place we were fairly sure would be empty. Now, there's an honest puzzle wrapped up in all this, and I'd like to share it with you softly, because it's a lovely thing to rest an unhurried mind on. If these creatures live in permanent darkness, hundreds of kilometers from the sunlit sea, what on earth do they eat? Sponges like these feed by filtering food from the water. But food in the sea almost always begins with sunlight, with tiny plants growing near the surface. And there's no surface here, no sunlight, no plants. So how are they fed? And the honest answer is, we're not entirely sure. The most likely explanation is that food drifts into them, carried on slow currents from far away, all the way in under the ice from the open sea, a thin, patient supply of drifting scraps reaching them in the dark. It's not that they found some strange new way to live without the sun. As far as anyone can tell, they're still fed at a great distance by the sunlit world beyond the ice. But exactly how it all works, how enough food finds its way so far in, how a whole community holds on out here, that part is still an open question. And it's perfectly fine that it is. Some things are still being worked out. Some doors have only just been cracked open, and there's a quiet wonder in standing at one of them and seeing just enough to know how much more there is to see. I love that the people who found this said, more or less, that their discovery raised far more questions than it answered. That's such an honest, human thing to feel. Not triumph, not a mystery solved, just a widened sense of how much is still out there, unseen, in the dark under the ice. A whole world, most likely, that we've barely begun to glimpse, one boulder's worth at a time. So let yourself rest for a moment in that gentle not knowing. Picture the little camera drifting down through the black water at the bottom of its long borehole, its faint light reaching out into a darkness that sunlight had never reached. And there, caught in the glow, a rock, and clinging to it quietly, a small crowd of pale, still creatures, sponges and stranger things, holding on in the cold, feeding on whatever the slow currents bring them, going about their lives exactly as they have for who knows how long, whether or not anyone was ever going to come and shine a light on them. Let yourself linger there a while, in that one small pool of light at the bottom of the sea. It's such a quiet scene when you really sit with it, the camera turning slowly on its cable, far, far below the ice, its little lamp throwing a soft circle of brightness onto the seafloor, the first light, perhaps, ever to fall on that particular patch of ground in all the ages it has lain there. And in that circle, the boulder and its slow tenants lit up for the very first time. The sponges don't stir. They don't flee or startle or even seem to notice. They have no eyes to be dazzled, no reason to be afraid. They simply go on being exactly what they are, pale and still and patient, while the strange new light rests on them for a while. And then, beyond the edge of that little glow, in every direction, the black, the vast unlit sea, stretching away under the ice, full of who knows what else, none of it touched by the light at all. Just this one small circle of the visible, floating in an ocean of the unseen. They weren't waiting to be found. That's the thing. They were simply there, living their slow, quiet lives in the black, complete in themselves, needing no witness at all. And for one brief moment, through one narrow hole in a kilometer of ice, we got to see them. And then the camera came back up, and the black closed over them again, and they carried on exactly as before, in the sealed and silent sea. There's something deeply restful in that, I think, that the world is full of quiet life, carrying on in places we'll never see, asking nothing of us, needing nothing from us, getting along perfectly well down there, whether we're watching or not. You don't have to keep an eye on any of it. It doesn't need you. It never did. And there's a real peace in that, in knowing that all through the long night, in the deepest and most hidden places on earth, life is simply, softly getting on, and will go on getting on, long after you've drifted off to sleep. It's a comforting thought to carry down into sleep, really, that so much of the world runs perfectly well without being watched over. We spend our waking hours feeling that things need our attention, our worry, our keeping track. But here is a whole community of living things in the most remote place imaginable that has never once needed a single thought from anyone and has thrived all the same quietly for ages beyond counting. The sea takes care of them. The slow currents bring them what they need, and they simply rest and feed and hold on and go on. You can let yourself be a little like that tonight, held by something larger, taken care of without having to do the caring, free for these few hours to stop keeping watch over anything at all and simply rest the way those pale creatures rest on their boulder in the dark, needing nothing, troubled by nothing, perfectly and quietly at ease. For tonight, that's enough. A camera lowered into the dark, a boulder alive where nothing was supposed to be, and a whole hidden ocean still almost entirely unseen, holding who knows how much more quietly in the cold beneath the ice. Let the little light drift down into the dark, and let yourself drift down with it gently toward sleep. Life rooted in the dark. Last time, we watched a single camera find a single boulder with a small crowd of creatures clinging to it, far under the ice. Tonight, we go a little further and find something larger, not one rock, but a whole seafloor, a dark garden of living things, rooted quietly in the cold, further down and further in than almost anyone imagined life could hold. Because the sponges on that boulder weren't a lonely exception. They were a glimpse, a hint that down here in the sealed dark, there might be far more life than anyone had ever thought. And a few years later, in a different corner of Antarctica, we got to see just how much more. Here's how it happened, softly. Off one part of the coast, an enormous iceberg broke away from the ice, a great slab of it, drifting off to sea, the way they do. And when it went, it uncovered something. A stretch of seafloor that had been sealed beneath the ice in total darkness for a very long time. A patch of the world that had been roofed over and hidden suddenly opened to reach for the first time. So a ship went to look and lowered a robot down into the cold water, a little vehicle with lights and a camera, drifting slowly down to the newly uncovered floor. And what it found was not a barren place at all. It was a garden. Down there, in the dark, on that seafloor that had lain sealed away under the ice, there were corals, large ones, and sponges, great numbers of them in all their strange shapes. A whole thriving community of life settled on the bottom, quietly flourishing in the chill and the black. Not a few scattered survivors, a living landscape. Corals and sponges spread across the floor, and moving among them other creatures too, fish and octopus, and long-legged things walking slowly over the bottom on legs like spun glass. Let that settle for a moment. A garden of life in the dark, at the bottom of the sea, under where the ice used to be. No sunlight had reached that place in longer than anyone could say, and yet it wasn't empty, or dead, or waiting. It was full of slow, quiet, living things, getting on with the patient business of being alive in one of the most hidden places on the whole of the earth. I find that genuinely moving to sit with. We tend to imagine that life needs the things we need, light and warmth and open air. And here is a whole flourishing world with none of them. Just chill and blackness and the slow drift of the water. And life found a way to make even that into a home. Not a hard, desperate, clinging sort of life. A rich one, a crowded one, a garden. Now, among the creatures down there There's one I especially want to show you, because it's one of the strangest and most wonderful things in all these cold seas. Walking slowly across that dark floor, on long, thin legs, there are sea spiders. And down here, they grow enormous. Let me explain that gently, because it's lovely. Sea spiders are found in oceans all over the world, distant relatives of the spiders you know on land, though they live entirely in the sea, walking the seafloor on their long, delicate legs, and almost everywhere else in the world. They're tiny, small enough that you'd need to look closely to spot one, just a few millimeters across, the size of a fingernail, easy to miss entirely. But here, in the cold Antarctic water, something remarkable happens to them. They grow and grow, until some of them span the width of a dinner plate, legs stretching out tens of centimeters across, where their cousins elsewhere are barely the size of a crumb. Picture that, drifting slowly over the dark floor, a spider the size of your open hand, or larger, stepping gently across the seabed on long, thin, glassy legs, in no hurry at all, not scuttling the way a land spider does, moving calmly, gracefully almost, through the cold, black water, in a place with all the time in the world. There's nothing frightening in it, down here, from where you're resting. It's just one more quiet, patient creature, grown strange and large in the deep chill, going peacefully about its life on the bottom of the sea. And there's a gentleness to how they move that's worth lingering on. Everything down here has learned the same unhurried pace. There's no reason to rush in water this cold, no sudden weather, no bright day to make the most of, no season that will end. So the great spider lifts one long leg and sets it down, and lifts another, feeling its way across the seabed as slowly as a shadow lengthening. It might take an age to cross a single stretch of floor, and it would never matter. Nothing is chasing it. Nothing is waiting. It simply walks in its own deep time, through the cold and the black, as calm and as patient as the water itself. And all around it, that quiet garden, the corals, the sponges, the slow drift of the current, keeping the same ancient pace as though the whole sea floor were barely moving at all. And this isn't only the sea spiders. It happens to other creatures down here too. A whole scattering of Antarctic animals grow larger than their relatives anywhere else. There's even a name for it: polar gigantism. In the cold seas at the very ends of the earth, certain creatures simply grow big, bigger than the same kind of animal grows in warmer water. And here's the honest, lovely part. We're not entirely sure why. There's a leading idea, and it's a gentle one. Very cold water can hold a great deal of oxygen, more than warm water can. And creatures down here live slowly, in the chill, using that oxygen up very gradually. So the thinking goes that with so much oxygen available, and life running so unhurried, these animals can afford to grow larger than they could anywhere else. That's one likely explanation. But it isn't fully settled, and scientists still turn the question over. Exactly why the cold makes these creatures grand remains for now a bit of a mystery, and a rather wonderful one to leave open, I think, on the way toward sleep. Not everything has to be solved. Some things can simply be marveled at. You don't have to hold on to any of that. Let it drift off. What's worth keeping is only the image, great gentle creatures, grown large and slow in the cold black water, moving quietly across the floor of a sea no one ever sees, and rooted there among them, not moving at all, are the corals and the sponges. These are the still ones, the anchored ones, the plants of this dark garden, though they're really animals too. They fix themselves to the seafloor and stay, drawing what they need from the water drifting past, and they grow with a slowness that's almost impossible to imagine. Some of the cold water corals down here grow so gradually that a single colony sitting quietly on the bottom may be many hundreds or even thousands of years old. A living thing that settled on that dark floor long before much of human history had happened, and has simply been there ever since, growing a hair's breadth at a time, in the cold and the silence, while the whole restless world above went hurrying by. Sit with that for a moment, because it's a beautiful thing to rest on. Somewhere down there, right now, in the deep under the Antarctic Sea, there are living things older than cities, older than almost anything we've built. Corals that have been sitting in the same spot, in the same cold, quiet dark, for longer than we can easily picture, asking nothing, hurrying nowhere, simply growing slowly, in the deep. And many of these creatures, the sponges and corals of these cold seas, are found nowhere else on Earth. A whole garden of the rare and the ancient and the slow, tucked away at the bottom of the world, keeping perfectly still for age upon age. Try to imagine the patience of a thing like that, to settle in one place as a young thing and simply stay through century after century while empires rise and fall somewhere far above, while the ice comes and goes, while the whole hurrying story of the world plays out and moves on, and all the while, just to sit there in the cold and the dark, growing so slowly, you could watch for a lifetime and never see it change. There's no loneliness in it, I think, though it might sound lonely. There's a kind of deep contentment instead, the contentment of a thing that has found exactly where it belongs and needs to be nowhere else, and has nothing left to do but rest and grow and be quietly, patiently, for centuries on end. There's something deeply peaceful in the slowness of it all, I think. Up in our world, everything moves so fast. Things grow and fade in a season. We measure our days in hours, our lives in years, always rushing to keep up. But down here is a garden that measures time in centuries and feels no hurry at all. A coral that has been growing patiently for longer than there have been cities and may grow for as long again. A sea spider stepping slowly across the floor in no rush to be anywhere. A whole world running at the pace of the cold and the dark, which is to say, hardly moving at all, in the very best way. Nothing down here is late for anything. Nothing is behind. Nothing needs to be finished by morning. And maybe there's something worth borrowing in that, tonight. The permission to slow all the way down. To measure this moment not in the quick, anxious time of the waking day, but in the deep, patient time of the seafloor, where 100 years is nothing much, and there's no hurry anywhere, and the only thing to do is grow quietly and rest and let the slow water drift by. You don't have to keep the fast time tonight. You can let it go and sink into the slow time of the deep, where everything is unhurried and nothing is waiting, and rest is the whole of the work. So let that be where we settle tonight. A dark garden at the bottom of the sea, great gentle creatures moving slowly across it, and ancient still ones rooted quietly in place, older than we can easily imagine. All of it flourishing calmly, in the cold and the black, in a place where so little was ever expected to grow. For tonight, that's enough. A seafloor uncovered and found to be full of life. Giants stepping softly through the dark, and corals older than cities, resting quietly on the bottom, growing a hair's breadth at a time, in no hurry at all. A dark garden at the bottom of the world, giants stepping softly across it, slow as shadows, corals older than cities, rooted in the cold, and over all of it, the black water, still and patient and endless, holding the whole quiet garden exactly as it is, and as it has been, for longer than anyone will ever know. Living lights in the darkness. For all these nights, we've been sinking into the dark. The sealed sea beneath the ice, the black water, the creatures that live in it without ever seeing the sun. And you might have started to picture this whole world as simply, completely dark, a place with no light in it at all. But that isn't quite right, because down here, in the deepest black, there is light. Not sunlight, that's long gone, far above, beyond the ice. A different kind of light, a light the creatures make themselves. Let me show you gently, because it's one of the most beautiful things in the whole of the sea. Here's the surprising part, the part that turns your picture of the deep upside down. We think of the deep ocean as the darkest place there is, and in one sense, it is. No sunlight reaches it, but it is not, in fact, a place without light, because so many of the animals that live down here can glow. They make their own light inside their own bodies, and they shine it out into the black. And it isn't a rare trick either, done by a strange few. Down in the deep sea, by one careful count, something like 3/4 of the animals can produce their own light. 3 out of every 4. Which means the deep isn't a lightless void at all. It's more like a dark sky, scattered with countless tiny living stars, each one glowing softly in the black. Sit with that for a moment. You've been imagining a world of total darkness, but the truth is gentler and lovelier than that. All through this deep water, in every direction, there are little glimmers. A soft glow here, a faint pulse there, creatures drifting through the dark, carrying their own small lanterns, shining quietly out into a sea that the sun forgot. The deep sea glows. It always has. We just so rarely get to see it. Now, how does a living thing make light? Here's the simple version, and then we'll let the details drift away, the way we always do. It's a chemical thing, a gentle reaction inside the animal's body that gives off a glow. And here's the loveliest part of it. This light is cold. It makes almost no heat at all, not like a flame or a light bulb, which pour out warmth along with their glow. This is a cool light, a quiet light, made without any fire at all, the sea's own way of shining in the black, a candle you could hold in your hand and never feel the warmth of. That's what these creatures carry, inside themselves, down in the cold, deep water. It's worth pausing on how strange and wonderful that is. We're so used to light coming with heat, the sun that warms us, the fire that we gather around, the lamp that grows hot to the touch. Light and warmth in our world almost always travel together. But down here, life found a way to make one without the other. A glow with no fire in it. Something you could cup in your hands like cool water. It's a quieter, stranger kind of light than any we know up in the air, and somehow that makes it feel all the more peaceful, doesn't it? A light that doesn't burn, a light that only shines. And most of it is a particular color. Blue, mostly, and green, cool, watery colors. There's a reason for it, a gentle one, Of all the colors of light, blue and green are the ones that travel furthest through seawater. So down in the deep, where a glow needs to carry as far as it can through the water, the light that living things make is nearly always that quiet blue-green, the color that reaches the furthest into the black. Picture that, if you like. Not harsh white light, not warm yellow lamplight. A cool, faint, blue-green glow drifting through dark water, the color of the deep sea's own light. Imagine drifting there in the middle of it for a moment. All around you, the black, complete and cool and still. And then, off in the distance, a spark. Just one at first. A soft blue point, kindling somewhere in the dark, holding for a moment and fading again. Then another, nearer. A slow green pulse, drifting past, unhurried. And as your eyes settle into the black, you begin to see them everywhere, faint glimmers, near and far, blinking and drifting and turning slowly through the water, each one a living thing carrying its own small light through the endless black. It's silent, all of it. No sound comes with the glow. It simply appears and drifts and fades and appears again somewhere else, patient and wordless, like something half-dreamed. You could watch it for hours. People who have seen it say there's nothing else quite like it. A whole sea, gently alight, glowing to itself in the deep, with no one there to watch. And here's something that tells you how useful a thing this glow must be. The ability to make light hasn't appeared just once, in one lucky family of creatures. It has arisen over and over again, separately, all across the ocean, by careful counts, at least 40 different times, in 40 different kinds of life, and quite possibly many more, each one quietly inventing its own way to shine. Dozens of separate times, life looked at the darkness of the deep and answered it with light. There's something rather moving in that, I think, that in the darkest place on earth, life kept finding, again and again, its own way to glow. Now, why do they do it? What's all this glow for? There are many answers, and honestly, we don't fully understand all of them, which is a fine thing, and we'll not worry about it tonight. But you can imagine some of the reasons, gently. A glow can be a way to find one another in the vast dark, a small signal saying, "Here I am." It can be a way to confuse or startle something that means you harm. A sudden flash, and then the dark again, and you're gone. It can be a way to lure a curious meal a little closer, a bright and tempting point in the black. Some creatures can even release a glowing cloud into the water and slip away behind it, leaving a burst of light where they used to be. All through the deep, these lights are blinking and pulsing and drifting, a whole silent language of light, spoken in the dark by creatures we almost never see speaking it. And some of that glow is right here, in the cold Antarctic water we've been drifting through. Even the small things shine. There's a little creature down here, one we'll spend more time with soon, a small shrimp-like animal called krill, which drifts through these seas in enormous numbers. And even the krill carry their own tiny lights, small glowing spots along their bodies, giving off a gentle blue shine. Imagine that. Not just the great strange creatures of the deep, but the small ones too. The countless tiny ones, each carrying its own faint glow, so that a gathering of them, drifting through the black water, might shimmer very softly, like dust caught in a shaft of light, or like the faintest scattering of stars. Let yourself picture that for a while. The deep, dark sea beneath the ice, and drifting through it, all these living lights, the great slow pulse of some large creature, far off in the black, the steady glimmer of others nearer by, and whole clouds of tiny lights, the krill and their kind, shimmering faintly as they drift. Not a bright place, never bright, but not empty of light either. A dark sea, gently scattered with living stars. There's something to rest in, too, about how these lights ask nothing of you. Up in our world, light so often means attention, a screen lighting up, a signal to answer, a thing that wants something from you. But not here. These glimmers want nothing at all from anyone watching, because there's almost never anyone watching. They shine for their own reasons, in their own dark, whether or not a single eye is there to see. There's a freedom in that, somehow. A whole sea quietly alight, all through the endless night, performing for no one, needing no audience, simply shining because that is its nature. You can let yourself off the hook the same way tonight. There's no one you need to signal, nothing you need to light up for. You can simply rest in the dark, the way the deep rests, and let whatever light is in you stay soft and low and easy, shining for no one, answering to nothing. There's something deeply peaceful in that image, I think, and something worth holding on to, beyond just tonight. We tend to think of darkness as the absence of light, as emptiness, as nothing. But the deep sea tells a different story. Down there, in the most complete darkness on Earth, life didn't simply surrender to the black. It made its own light. Quietly, patiently, in dozens of different ways, it learned to glow. And so the darkest place there is turns out to be, in its own way, full of light after all. Not the borrowed light of the sun, but a light that living things carry within themselves and shine out into the dark, all on their own. It's a gentle thing to remember on any dark night, that even in the deepest black, light has a way of appearing, not flooding in from outside, but kindling quietly from within, small and cool and steady, a living glow in a lightless place, asking nothing and simply shining, because that is what it does. And perhaps that's the thought to carry down with you tonight. Not the science of it, not the numbers, not the reasons, just the picture of it, a darkness that is never quite complete, because something inside it always, always finds a way to shine. The deepest, coldest, most sealed away water on Earth, and even there, scattered all through it, these small living glows, rising and fading in the black. It's a quiet kind of hope, if you want it to be. And if you don't, it's simply beautiful, which is enough. A dark that glows, a cold that shines, a deep, still sea, gently alight from within, all through the endless night. So let the picture settle and let everything else grow quiet around it. The black water, still and cold and endless, and through it, drifting slowly, the glimmers, a soft pulse of blue, far off in the dark, a scattering of pale green nearer by, whole faint clouds of tiny shining things turning gently in the current, glowing and fading and glowing again. No sound, no hurry, only the deep and the dark and the quiet living lights drifting through it, on and on, all through the long night, whether or not there is anyone there to see them. A dark sea full of soft, living stars, rising and fading and rising again in the black, slow and cool and endless, far beneath the ice, the food chain beneath the ice. We've met some remarkable creatures down here these last few nights. The fish with clear blood, the garden of corals and giants on the dark floor, the living lights drifting through the black, and you might have started to wonder the quiet question underneath all of it, the one that holds every living world together. What do they all eat? What feeds this whole dark, cold, hidden sea? Tonight, gently, we'll follow that thread, and it leads us, of all places, to one of the smallest creatures down here, a little thing no longer than your finger, and yet, in its own quiet way, it holds nearly the whole of this world up. Let's take our time with it, because it's a lovely thing to understand and a peaceful one to rest on. Here's the simple version. In these cold southern seas, there is a small, shrimp-like creature called krill. We met it briefly last time, one of the little ones that carry their own faint glow, small spots of soft blue light spaced along its body. It's only a few centimeters long, pale and delicate, with dark eyes and a soft, translucent body. On its own, a single one of them is a slight, almost weightless thing, easy to miss entirely. But krill are almost never on their own. They gather in enormous, uncountable numbers, moving through the cold water in swarms so vast they're genuinely hard to imagine. Think of that for a moment. Not a handful, not a shoal. Clouds of them, great slow drifting clouds of krill, stretching on and on through the water, sometimes for miles. Taken all together, across the whole of the Southern Ocean, they are among the most abundant animals on the entire planet, the total weight of them rivaling that of almost any other creature alive. All these tiny, glowing, finger-length things, gathered into swarms so huge they can stretch further than the eye could ever follow. And when a swarm like that turns in the water, each small body catching and giving back its own faint light, the whole thing must shimmer very softly in the dark, a slow, living cloud of pale blue, glimmering all through itself, drifting on through the black. And here is why they matter so much. Almost everything else down here, in one way or another, depends on them. The krill are what we call a keystone, the small central thing that a whole world is built around. Fish feed on the krill. Birds dive for them from the surface above. Seals hunt them through the cold water. The great whales, the largest creatures ever to have lived, swim through these seas with their mouths open, gathering krill by the countless million. Take almost any creature in these southern waters and follow the thread of what feeds it and what feeds the thing that feeds it. And sooner or later, nearly always, you arrive at krill. This small, glowing, finger-length animal is the quiet foundation the whole living sea is resting on. Picture that gently, one of the great whales moving through a swarm, a creature bigger than anything else that has ever lived on this planet, longer than a bus, heavier than you could ever hold in mind, gliding slowly through the cold water. And what is it living on? Not some great prey to match its size. These tiny, pale, finger-length things, taken in their millions, filtered from the water in one enormous, unhurried mouthful. The biggest animal there has ever been, fed by the smallest, in the cold and the dark. There's something almost tender in the thought, the vast, gentle whale and the tiny, drifting krill, bound together, the one holding the other up. The largest life on Earth, resting quietly on the smallest. It's a strange and rather beautiful thing to sit with, that something so large, an entire ocean's worth of life, right up to the greatest whales, should be held up quietly by something so small, that the foundation of it all isn't some mighty creature, but a tiny, drifting, almost weightless one, gathered in its countless millions in the cold and the dark. There's a gentleness in that, I think. The great things of this sea rest on the small things. They always have. But now we come to the real question, the one that's been waiting underneath this whole journey. If the krill feed nearly everything else, then what feeds the krill? And this is where something quietly important happens, because to answer it, we have to look up, all the way up, past the ice, to the sun. Here's how it works, gently. The krill feed on tiny drifting plants, microscopic specks of green, far too small to see, that float in the sea and, like all plants, live on sunlight. In the brief southern summer, when the sun does reach these waters, those tiny plants bloom near the surface in unimaginable numbers, and the krill rise up and feed on them. And in the winter, when the sun is gone and the surface freezes over, the krill do something rather wonderful. They move up under the sea ice, and they graze on the film of tiny plants that grows on the underside of the ice itself, scraping it gently away like something feeding on frost from below. There's a lovely, homely image in that, if you sit with it. The long polar winter, the sun months gone, the sea roofed over with ice. And there, just beneath the ceiling of ice, in the cold and the dark, the krill drift upward and quietly graze, grazing on the underside of the frozen world, the way a creature in a snowed-over field might nibble at whatever green still clings beneath the frost. A whole winter's living, found on the bottom of the ice. It's such a patient, undramatic way to get by. No hunting, no chasing, just drifting up to the ceiling of the sea in the dark and gently feeding on what grows there and waiting out the winter until the sun comes back and the surface blooms again. So follow the thread all the way down, and here's where it leads. The whales eat the krill eat the tiny plants, and the tiny plants live on sunlight, which means that this whole dark world, all of it, the fish and the giants and the glowing things, everything we've met down here in the hidden waters beneath the ice, is fed, in the end, at one long remove, by the sun. The light that never reaches this water still feeds nearly everything in it. Not directly. Not by shining down here, it can't. But by growing those tiny plants far above, which feed the krill, which feed the rest. Think of that thread for a moment, because it's a lovely thing to follow in the mind. It begins far above, in the brief, bright summer, where sunlight falls on the open sea, and tiny green things drink it in and grow. Then a krill rises up and feeds on them, and the light becomes, in a way, part of the krill, a little of the sun, carried now in a small living body in the cold. Then a fish takes the krill, and the light passes on again, and a seal takes the fish, or a whale takes the krill straight, and on it goes, hand to hand, deeper and deeper, further and further from where it began, until a trace of that summer sunlight has traveled all the way down into the black water beneath the ice, into creatures that will never once see the sky. The sun's light, reaching places the sun's light cannot reach, not by shining, by being passed along patiently through one living thing after another, all the way into the dark. There's something quietly comforting in that, I think. The idea that nothing here is really alone or truly cut off, however deep and dark it gets. Everything is still tied to everything else, and to the light, by these long, patient threads. The whale to the krill, the krill to the tiny plants to the sun, a whole world held together by threads too fine to see, none of it ever quite as separate or as sunless as it first appears. And I'll be honest with you gently, because it matters, and because it opens the door to where we go next. Nearly everything down here lives on that thread of sunlight, at one remove or another. Nearly everything, but not quite everything, because there are places, hidden deeper still in this dark sea, where life has found another way entirely, where a few creatures live with no thread back to the sun at all. But that's a story for another night. Tonight, it's enough to know that almost all of this world, for all its darkness, is still quietly fed by a sun it never sees. So let's come back to the krill and rest there for a while, because for all that they hold up, they ask for so little. A tiny creature adrift in the cold, grazing on specks of green too small to see, glowing faintly as it goes. Not hunting, not struggling, just moving where the water takes it, eating what the water brings it, and shining its small, soft light in the dark, one of uncountable millions doing exactly the same. There's no ambition in a krill, no hurry. It simply goes where the current carries it and gathers with countless others of its kind in the vast, slow swarms that hold the whole sea up. There's something restful in imagining that, I think, to be one small thing among countless others, with no great task to do, no weight to carry alone, just to be carried and to take what comes, held on every side by all the others moving with you. The krill don't each hold up the sea by themselves. No single one could. They hold it up together, without any one of them ever having to do much at all, just by being there in their countless quiet numbers, in the dark. And there's a kind of peace in that, in being small and being many and being held. For tonight, that's enough. The smallest creature in the sea, holding up the largest, a thread of sunlight reaching all the way into the dark, and a swarm of tiny glowing things drifting through the cold, asking nothing, holding everything. Somewhere down there, right now, in the black water beneath the ice, one of those swarms is drifting, countless small pale lights turning slowly in the cold, feeding and glowing and drifting on exactly as they have through winter after winter, whether or not there is anyone there to see. Life that needs no sun. Last time, we followed a quiet thread all the way down. The whales feeding on the krill feeding on the tiny plants, and the tiny plants living on sunlight, so that nearly everything in this dark sea turned out to be fed, in the end, by a sun it never sees. A thread of light passed hand to hand into the deep. But I left a door open, if you remember, because I said nearly everything, not quite everything. And tonight, gently, we go through that door, to the one or two places in this dark world where life has let go of the sun entirely and found another way to live. Let's take it slowly, because it's one of the strangest and most wonderful ideas in all of the sea. For almost every living thing you have ever known, life begins with the sun. Plants drink in sunlight and grow. Animals eat the plants, or eat the animals that ate the plants. Follow any meal far enough back, and you arrive at sunlight nearly always. It's so nearly universal that it's easy to think it must be a law, that all life, everywhere, must trace back to the sun in the end. That without the sun, there could be nothing at all. But the deep sea quietly proves otherwise. Because down here, In one or two rare places, there is life that has never needed the sun at all. Life that feeds on something else entirely, on the chemistry of the earth itself. Let me show you the gentler of these places first. Here and there on the seafloor, in the cold and the dark, there are spots where a kind of gas seeps up slowly out of the ground. It's called methane, the same sort of gas that's stored in vast amounts deep beneath the seabed, and in a few places it leaks upward gently through the floor of the sea. In Antarctic waters, one such place was found not so long ago, the first active seep of its kind discovered down here, marked by a pale, ghostly mat of tiny living things spread across the seafloor, right where the gas rises up. Picture that mat for a moment, because it's a quiet, otherworldly sight. Not a plant, not a creature you'd recognize, just a soft, pale film spread across the dark seabed, faintly luminous against the mud, marking the exact spot where the earth is breathing out. It might stretch for many meters across the floor, ghost white in the blackness, holding perfectly still, and every part of it is alive, countless tiny things, too small to see one by one, gathered together into that pale living sheet, all of them feeding on the gas seeping up beneath them. Now here's the quiet marvel of it. Those pale mats are made of microbes, tiny living things that feed on the methane itself, not on sunlight, not on anything a plant ever made. They take the energy they need straight from that rising gas, from the raw chemistry of the earth, and they build their lives on it, down there in the cold and the dark, with no connection to the sun at all. A whole little community, living on what the ground breathes out. It's a completely different way to be alive, one that doesn't need light or plants or any thread reaching back up to the surface, just the earth and the gas it releases and life patient enough to make a living from it. Sit with that for a moment, because it turns something familiar gently on its head. We tend to think life needs the sun the way it needs water, utterly, without exception. And here is life that simply doesn't, that has quietly unhooked itself from the light and feeds instead on the slow breath of the planet. It's a reminder that the world is stranger and more inventive than our tidy rules for it, that life finds ways we wouldn't have thought to look for, and I should say gently, because we care about getting these things right, that this is a rare and special thing. Even down here, most of the life we've met on this journey, even the sponges on their dark boulder, even the creatures in the deepest sealed water, still lean in the end on that distant sun, on food drifting in from the sunlit world far away. The methane mats are different. They are among the very few things in this whole sea that owe the light nothing at all. That's what makes them worth pausing over. Not that life down here is cut off from the sun, but that here, in these few rare spots, it truly has found another way. And there's a second place, stranger still, further out. To reach it, we have to leave the sealed water beneath the ice shelf and travel out into the open Southern Ocean, because this next thing isn't under the shelf at all, but far away in the deep sea beyond, where the ocean floor does something remarkable. Out there, along a ridge of undersea mountains, the seafloor cracks open, and from those cracks pours water that has been heated deep inside the earth, heated far past boiling and loaded with minerals, rising up out of the ground into the freezing sea. These are called hydrothermal vents. and around them, in the cold, dark deep, there is life. Let me say a gentle word about that heat, because it sounds dramatic, and it needn't be. The water coming out of these vents is astonishingly hot, hotter than boiling, hotter than 350 degrees, kept from boiling away only by the great pressure of the deep. But don't picture anything violent. Down there, it isn't a roaring or a raging thing. It's a slow, steady rising of warm, mineral-rich water into the cold, a quiet meeting of fire and ice at the bottom of the world, where the Earth's own inner heat seeps up into the freezing dark. And around that warmth, gathered close, is a whole community of living things, feeding as the methane microbes do, not on sunlight, but on the chemistry rising out of the ground. It's a strange and lovely pairing to hold in the mind, fire and ice meeting in the deep. All this journey, we've been sinking through cold and more cold and darkness on darkness. And here, at the very bottom of it, is warmth. Not the sun's warmth, borrowed from above. The Earth's own warmth, rising from below. A little heat welling up out of the planet's deep interior into the coldest water there is, and life gathering around it the way you might gather around a fire on a winter night, drawn in close, warmed and fed, in the middle of all that cold and dark. There's something almost tender in the picture. The one warm place for hundreds of miles in any direction, and a quiet crowd of small creatures gathered around it, keeping close. And the creatures that gather there are like nothing else. Around these Antarctic vents, packed close in the warmth, are pale, almost ghostly crabs, a kind found nowhere else on Earth, with soft bristles covering their claws, giving them an odd furred look. They cluster tight to the warm water, crowded together on the rock, living on tiny bacteria that they carry and farm, bacteria that feed, in turn, on the chemistry of the vents. A whole crowd of them, pale and patient, gathered around the Earth's warmth in the freezing dark, living and breeding and getting on with their lives in a place where the sun has never mattered at all. Picture it, gently. The cold black deep, far out beyond the ice. And there, a faint warmth rising from a crack in the seafloor, shimmering the water above it. And gathered around it, close to that warmth, a soft, pale crowd of furred crabs, holding still or moving slowly, feeding quietly on what the Earth provides. No sunlight has ever touched them. No thread runs back from them to any plant or any surface or any summer sea. They are as unhooked from the sun as any living thing on Earth can be, and they are perfectly, quietly alive, warmed by the planet itself, in the dark. They don't know the sun exists. They have never needed to. Their whole world is this: the warmth below, the cold around, the dark above, and the close company of their own kind, gathered at the one small fire at the bottom of the sea. There's something that genuinely moves me about these places, and I think it's this. We spend so much of this journey down here in the dark, feeling how far it is from the sun, how sealed away, how cut off. And it's true, nearly everything down here still depends on that distant sun by the thinnest of threads, but not quite everything. In these few rare spots, life has done something almost unimaginable. It has let go of the sun completely and found a way to live on the Earth alone, on gas seeping through the floor, on heat rising from the deep. Life that needs no sun. Life that could go on, in its own small way, without ever drawing on sunlight at all. And there's a strange comfort in that, I think, to carry down toward rest. that life is not so fragile or so dependent as it can seem, that even without the one thing we thought all life required, it finds a way. In the coldest, darkest, most sunless places there are, life has quietly worked out how to go on, not by reaching desperately back toward the light, but by turning calmly to whatever warmth and energy the deep itself can offer and making a home there. There's a deep resilience in that, a quiet reassurance. Life holds on. It nearly always finds a way. Even here, even in the dark, even without the sun. It's the kind of thought that can settle something in you late at night. We carry so much worry about what we depend on, what we might lose, what we couldn't do without. And here is life at the very edge of the possible, showing that even the deepest dependence isn't quite the whole story. That when one source of warmth is gone, another can be found. That there is almost always some quiet way to go on, even in the places that look most impossible. You don't have to make anything of that tonight, but it's a gentle thing to know is true, somewhere down in the dark, that life is stubborn and resourceful and endlessly patient and keeps its small fires burning even at the very bottom of the world. So let yourself rest in that thought for a while. Not the strangeness of it, but the reassurance underneath. That warmth can rise even from the coldest depths. That life can hold on even in the most impossible places. That somewhere, right now, in the freezing dark at the bottom of the world, a soft, pale crowd of creatures is gathered around a little warmth seeping up out of the earth, perfectly at peace, needing nothing from the sun or the surface or the world above at all. The earth keeps its own quiet warmth deep down and shares it, even there, even in the dark, even with the small, patient things gathered close around it, far from any sun. Ghosts of the frozen sea. We've met a great deal of life down here these last few nights. The fish, the giants, the glowing things, the small crowds gathered around the warmth of the deep. But there are a few creatures in these cold waters that we've hardly touched. The rarest ones, the ones almost no one has ever seen, the ones that drift through the deepest, darkest water like something half imagined, pale and strange and quiet as ghosts. Tonight, gently, we'll go and find them. Not to be frightened by them. There's nothing frightening here, not really, not from where you're resting. Just to marvel softly at the strangest and most hidden creatures in all of this frozen sea. Let's begin with the greatest of them. To find it, we drift a little further out and a good deal deeper, out beyond the sealed water under the ice, into the open deep of the Southern Ocean, down where the black water goes on. And there, somewhere in that vast dark, lives one of the most extraordinary creatures on the whole of the earth. It's called the colossal squid. And by weight, it is the heaviest squid known anywhere in the world. Let me tell you about it gently, because it's easy to make a monster of a thing like this, and it truly isn't one. The colossal squid is big, genuinely, remarkably big. A grown one may weigh more than half a ton, heavier than almost any other creature without a backbone anywhere on Earth. Not so much long as deep and heavy and solid, a great, dense, powerful body built for the black water it lives in. And it has, of all the animals that have ever lived, the largest eyes, great dark eyes, wider than a dinner plate, built to gather the faintest trace of light in the deep dark water where it lives. Picture that, softly. An enormous quiet creature, drifting far down in the black, with eyes like great dark moons, watching a world almost entirely without light. Try to imagine the size of it, drifting there in the deep. Heavier than you could lift 100 times over, a great slow weight of a creature hanging in the black. And yet, down in that water, it would move without a sound and without a stir, a vast, slow, gentle shape, gliding through the dark on great, soft fins, its huge eyes catching whatever faint glimmers the deep has to offer. It isn't a hunter thrashing through the water. It's a slow, patient drifter, at home in a darkness so complete that its enormous eyes exist only to gather the last few scraps of light. Something that large, moving that quietly, in water that dark, you could be quite near one and never know. It would simply be there, somewhere in the black, vast and silent, and you would never see it pass. But here's the thing that moves me most about it. For all its size, for all that it's one of the largest creatures without a backbone on the planet, almost no one has ever seen one alive. For 100 years, we knew it existed almost entirely from pieces, from the remains found in the stomachs of whales and seabirds who hunt them in the deep. We knew this giant was down there, somewhere, only because we kept finding traces of it inside the things that ate it. But the living creature itself, moving through its own dark water that we had never seen, not once in a century. And then, only very recently, for the very first time, a camera in the deep sea caught one alive. And do you know what it turned out to be? Not a monster at all, a baby, a tiny, delicate, see-through juvenile, no longer than your hand, drifting gently through the dark, its little body almost perfectly transparent, like glass, like something made of water and light. After 100 years of knowing this creature only as a giant, only from the pieces left behind, the first living one we ever saw was this, a small, clear, fragile thing, drifting quietly in the deep, entirely unaware that anyone was watching, or that it had been a mystery for 100 years. There's something so tender in that, I think. We'd built this creature up, in our minds, into a kind of sea monster, vast and hidden and strange. And when we finally met one, it was a delicate, glassy baby, drifting peacefully in the dark, harming no one, minding nothing, simply being alive in the deep. It's a good reminder, maybe, that the things we imagine as monsters, out there in the dark, are so often just quiet creatures getting on with their lives, no more frightening in the end than a child asleep. And it makes you wonder gently, how many other great, quiet creatures are down there still, drifting through the deep, dark water that no one has ever seen at all, vast and gentle and unhurried, passing slowly through the black, entirely unknown to us, and perfectly content to stay that way. And it isn't the only glassy ghost down here. Around the same time, in these same cold seas, a camera caught another one for the very first time. A different kind of deep squid. This one called a glass squid, almost perfectly transparent, drifting through the Antarctic water like a shape cut from clear water itself. Until suddenly, gently, there it was, see-through and delicate and quietly moving through the dark. There's something wonderful about a body made almost of glass, down in the deep, where a hunter might be watching for any shape against the faint light from far above. Being transparent is a kind of quiet magic, a way to simply not be seen. So these creatures have made themselves nearly invisible, their bodies clear as water, their insides faintly showing through, drifting along almost without casting a shadow at all. To be transparent is to be a ghost in the truest sense, present and alive and moving through the water, and yet barely there to the eye at all. A shape you could look straight through, a creature that is mostly the sea it swims in. Imagine those two, if you like. Deep in the black water, far below the ice, two near invisible creatures, their clear bodies barely there at all, moving slowly through the dark, made almost of glass, almost of nothing. You could look right at one and half, not see it. Ghosts, truly. Pale, transparent, silent things, drifting through the deepest water in the world, seen by almost no one, ever. And for all the years they've existed, for all the countless generations of them that have lived and drifted and vanished in the deep, only in the last handful of years has any human eye ever once seen one alive. Whole lineages of quiet, glassy creatures, drifting through the dark since long before us, glimpsed at last for a moment or two, and then gone again into the water that hides them. And there are older ghosts here too, down in this same deep black water, not only here in the south, but through the deep seas of the world. There drifts a creature so ancient, it's almost hard to believe. It's sometimes called a ghost shark, though it isn't quite a shark. Its kind split away from the sharks and rays an astonishingly long time ago, hundreds of millions of years back, in seas that existed before almost anything we'd recognize. They've been drifting through the deep quietly ever since. Living fossils in a way, creatures from an almost unimaginably distant past, still here, still gliding through the black on soft wing-like fins. Think of the span of time behind a creature like that. It was already ancient when the first dinosaurs walked. Its kind was already old, already drifting through deep water on those same soft fins, in seas that vanished long before there was anyone to name them. Whole ages of the world have come and gone, mountains raised and worn away, continents drifted apart, countless kinds of life risen and vanished, and all the while, down in the quiet deep, the ghost shark simply carried on, unchanged, gliding slowly through the black as it always had. There's something almost beyond words in that kind of endurance. Not a struggle, not a triumph, just a quiet, patient continuing, age after age, in the calm dark of the deep, while the whole restless world above rearranged itself over and over. And like so many things down here, the ghost shark is built for the black. It has large, pale eyes, made not for seeing fine detail, but for catching the faintest hint of movement in near total blackness. Down where there's almost no light at all, that's what matters, not sharpness, but the barest sense of something stirring nearby. So it glides through the deep on its slow fins, its great dim eyes open to the dark, feeling for the faintest motion in the water around it. An ancient, patient ghost, older than almost anything, still moving quietly through the deep seas of the world. Let yourself drift among them for a moment, these ghosts of the deep. The great quiet squid, with its dark moon eyes, the glassy, near invisible ones, barely there at all, the ancient ghost shark, gliding on soft fins, older than the mountains, none of them frightening, none of them fierce, just strange and rare and quiet, pale shapes moving slowly through the deepest, blackest water there is, seen by almost no one, asking nothing, going on through the dark exactly as they have for longer than we can imagine. There's something peaceful in that, once you set the old fears aside. We've always filled the dark deep with monsters in our stories, krakens and sea serpents and things with too many teeth. But the real creatures down there, the true ghosts of the deep, are gentler than any of that. Quiet, delicate even, a transparent baby squid, an ancient fish drifting on soft fins, great dark eyes open to the black, watching for nothing in particular, harming no one. The deep isn't full of monsters. It's full of quiet, patient, ancient life, drifting through the dark, getting on with the long, slow business of being alive, far from us and far from any light. And maybe that's the gentlest thing to carry with you now, that the dark, wherever we find it, is so rarely what we fear it to be, that the shapes moving through it, out at the edge of what we can see, are almost always just quiet lives, minding their own way through the world. The child afraid of the dark bedroom and the sailor afraid of the dark sea are both, in the end, afraid of the same thing, not what's really there, but what the mind puts there. And what's really there, almost always, is something far gentler than the fear. There's nothing out there in the deep that means you any harm, only the ghosts of the frozen sea, drifting slowly through the black, as calm and as harmless as a dream. And sometimes in water like that, one of them passes close, not to trouble you, just to drift by quietly in the dark, something vast and gentle, moving somewhere near in the black water, felt more than seen, and then gone again, on into the deep. Something passes close. Let's stay here for a while in the deep, dark water and simply be still. There's nothing to learn tonight, nothing to understand, nothing to hold on to, nothing to picture perfectly. Tonight is only for drifting and being here in the quiet dark, where the whole long journey has been leading us all along. So let yourself settle, down off the surface, past the ice, into the deep water we've come to know. Let it hold you, the way it holds everything down here softly, on every side, without effort, without end. There's no need to sink quickly. There never is down here. Just let yourself drift lower, the way a leaf drifts down through still water, turning slowly, in no hurry at all, past the last of the light, past the cold that you can't feel, down and down into the deep dark water until the whole world above, the ice, the surface, the sky, has faded to nothing, and there is only the deep, holding you gently, all around. You're deep now, deeper than the light ever comes. The surface is far, far above you. The ice, the wind, the long night sky, all of it distant, all of it gone quiet. Down here, there is only the water, dark and slow and cool, and you, drifting in the middle of it, weightless, held, with nowhere to be and nothing to do. Feel how weightless you are. Nothing pulls at you here. There's no floor to rest on and no need for one. You simply hang in the water, suspended, held on every side, the way you might float in warm, still water with your eyes closed, buoyed up, cradled, carried, without any effort of your own at all. Your body can let go completely here. There's nothing to hold up, nothing to carry. The water carries all of it for you. It's very still, very quiet, the kind of quiet you can almost feel against your skin. No sound reaches this deep, no waves, no wind, no far-off anything. Only the soft, close hush of deep water wrapped all around you, and the slow, easy rhythm of your own breathing, in and out, in the dark. And you're not afraid. That's worth noticing, softly. Down here, in the deepest dark there is, there's nothing in you that's afraid. only calm, only the deep, settled peace of a place so far from everything that nothing could ever hurry it, or trouble it, or reach it at all. You're as safe here as anywhere there has ever been, held by the water, wrapped in the dark, far, far below the reach of anything that could ever disturb you. So just drift and breathe and let the deep hold you. Let the quiet grow for a while. There's nothing that needs to happen, nowhere the night has to go. You can simply be here, suspended in the black, breathing slowly for as long as you like, with the whole vast, patient deep holding you softly in place. Time loosens down here, the way it does at the edge of sleep. One slow breath, and then another, and the minutes pooling quietly around you, unhurried, unmeasured, going nowhere at all. And then softly, somewhere out in the dark, you become aware of something. Not a sound exactly, not a sight. The water here is far too dark to see. It's more a sense, a feeling, the faint, quiet knowledge that somewhere nearby, out in the black water, something is there, something large, something moving slowly through the deep. Don't be startled by it. There's nothing to fear. You remember from before the great quiet creatures of the deep, the vast, gentle squid drifting far down in the dark on soft, slow fins, with its great dark eyes made only for gathering the faintest light. Something like that, perhaps. Something enormous and slow and utterly calm, moving somewhere near you in the black. You can't see it. It's far too dark for that, but you can feel it, the way you can sometimes feel in a dark and quiet room that someone else is there. A shift in the water, a vast, slow presence passing somewhere close. The faint, gentle pressure of something large, moving unhurried through the deep, not far from where you drift. Let it be near for a moment, without needing to know exactly what it is. That's part of the peace of this place, that you don't have to identify it, or name it, or understand it. You can simply feel it there, a great calm presence in the dark, and let it be a mystery. The way so much down here is a mystery. Something vast and slow and gentle, sharing the deep water with you for a little while. That's all you need to know. That's all there is to know, and it means you no harm. That's the thing to know and to rest in. Whatever it is, out there in the dark, it isn't hunting and it isn't hurrying, and it hasn't come for you. It's simply passing, moving through its own dark water on its own slow way, the way it has for longer than there have been eyes to see it. Its great dark eyes, if it turned them toward you, would hold no threat at all, only the same deep, unhurried calm as the water itself. Two quiet things, drifting in the same dark for a moment, near one another. So let it come close. There's no need to move, or to look, or to do anything at all. Just let yourself feel it, that presence, moving slowly through the black, somewhere near you in the deep. Not an intruder, not a threat. If anything, a kind of company. The quiet knowledge that even here, in the deepest and most hidden water in the world, you are not entirely alone. That something else is here too, drifting through the same dark, as calm and as unhurried as you are. There's a strange comfort in it, isn't there? We so often think of the dark as a lonely place, a place we'd rather not be alone in. But this is different. This is the deep and the dark, and a great gentle something moving quietly nearby, meaning you no harm at all. Not a loneliness, a companionship. The oldest kind, maybe, the simple, wordless comfort of not being the only thing awake in the dark. Think of how that feels for a moment, lying awake in the dark, late at night, and beside you, someone else asleep. You can't see them, but you can feel them there. The slow, even sound of their breathing, rising and falling in the dark, close and quiet and calm. You're not doing anything. Neither are they. You're simply two breathing things, resting near one another in the dark, and the night feels softer for it. There's a deep, old comfort in that, one we never quite grow out of. And this is like that. The great, quiet creature, passing in the dark, is that slow breath beside you in the night. The gentle presence that means you're not alone. It asks nothing of you. It only shares the dark with you for a while and lets you know, without a word, that you're not the only one here. Feel it pass then, slowly, that vast, quiet presence drifting by, somewhere close in the black water. You might feel the faint, slow stir of the water as it moves, the gentlest pressure, rising and fading as something enormous and calm passes near, and then on, into the deep. There's no hurry in it, no menace, just a slow, huge, gentle thing, moving through the dark, close enough to feel, and then softly, a little further off, and then further still. Let the moment stretch out as long as it likes. There's no need to hold on to it, and no need to let it go before it's ready. Just feel that gentle presence near you in the dark for as long as it stays. Two quiet things drifting in the same deep water, in the same patient dark, keeping each other the softest kind of company, without a sound, without a word, without needing anything from one another at all. And now it's moving away. You can feel that too, the presence easing, softening, drawing off into the deeper dark, the faint stir of the water growing still again. It came close for a moment, out of the vast dark. It passed, and now it's going slowly, back into the deep, on its own unhurried way, exactly as it came. Not gone in any sad sense, just moving on, the way everything down here moves on, in its own slow time, through the endless, patient dark. You don't have to follow it. You don't have to call it back. You can simply let it go gently, the way you're learning to let everything go tonight, and stay here, resting in the soft, dark water it leaves behind. And you're alone again, though alone isn't quite the word for it. Not anymore. Because you know now, in a way you didn't quite before, that the dark isn't empty, that all through this deep water, near and far, there are great quiet lives drifting slowly through the black, each one calm, each one unhurried, each one perfectly at peace. You felt one pass. You felt how gentle it was, and you can carry that with you now, down into sleep. The quiet knowledge that the dark is not a lonely place, and never really was, that it's full of slow, calm, gentle things, drifting through it, keeping their patient company with one another, and with you, all through the long night. And maybe that's the thing this whole long journey has been quietly leading toward. All those nights, sinking down through the ice, into the cold, into the dark, and finding, at every depth, that the dark was never empty, that it was full of life, full of light, full of slow, gentle creatures getting on with their quiet lives, far from the sun, far from us, perfectly at peace. The dark we were so ready to fear turned out to be a place of deep, calm, living company. And here, at the very bottom of it, you felt that for yourself, something vast and gentle, passing close, meaning you nothing but peace. There's a comfort in that you can keep long after tonight. That the dark places, the deep water, the late hour, the quiet of the night around you now are not empty and not lonely and not to be feared. That they're full of gentle presences drifting quietly nearby, keeping you company through the dark, asking nothing, meaning only peace. You are not the only thing awake in the night. You never were, and there's a soft, old comfort in that, as old as the deep itself. So stay here a little longer in the deep, where something vast and gentle passed close and meant you nothing but peace. Let the water hold you. Let the dark be soft around you, and let yourself rest here, deep and safe and unafraid, in the company of all the quiet things that drift, unseen and unhurried, through the black. Something passed close in the deep, dark water, and it was gentle, and you were not afraid, and you were not alone. An ocean we've barely seen. We've come a long way down these last many nights, through the ice, into the cold, dark water, past the fish with clear blood and the gardens of the deep, the living lights, the ghosts, the great gentle thing that passed close in the black. We've seen a great deal, you and I, of this hidden sea beneath the ice. And tonight, gently, before we begin to rise again, I want to tell you something that puts all of it in its proper place. Something quiet and humbling, and I think deeply restful. For all we've seen down here, we've barely seen any of it at all. Let me show you what I mean softly, because it's one of the most peaceful facts in the whole of this journey. Do you remember the camera and the boulder? The one lowered down through 900 meters of ice that found a crowd of life in the dark where nothing was supposed to be? Here's the part I saved for tonight. If you gathered up every glimpse we've ever had beneath these ice shelves, every borehole, every camera lowered into that sealed sea, all of it added together, the total amount of that hidden ocean floor we've actually laid eyes on comes to something roughly the size of a single tennis court. A tennis court. Out of an ocean that runs beneath ice shelves fringing most of an entire continent. That's how little of it we've seen. Not a small fraction, a vanishingly small one. Almost all of that sealed sea, all those thousands upon thousands of square kilometers of dark water and hidden floor, has never been seen by anyone at all. It simply sits there, in the cold and the dark, exactly as it always has, unseen, unvisited, unknown. Sit with that for a moment, because it's genuinely staggering and genuinely calming, both at once. Everything we've marveled at these last nights, the sponges, the giants, the glowing swarms, the whole strange living world, all of it came from that one tennis court's worth of glimpses. A few narrow holes in the ice, a few cameras lowered into the dark, and out of just those few small windows came all of this wonder. So imagine gently, just imagine, what the rest of it must hold. All that unseen ocean, thousands of times larger than the little we've managed to glimpse. If a handful of tiny windows showed us all this, what must be waiting in all the dark we've never looked into at all? Let yourself drift back over it all, for a moment. Everything these nights have shown you. The floating shelf and the dark water beneath it. The clear-blooded fish drifting in the cold with its great slow heart. The boulder and its quiet crowd of life so far under the ice. The garden on the seafloor, the giants stepping softly across it, the ancient corals older than cities, the living lights scattered through the black like stars, the vast swarms of krill holding the whole sea up, the ghosts, the great squid with its dark moon eyes, the glassy ones, the ancient drifting shark, and the thing that passed close, gentle in the dark. All of that wonder, and every bit of it glimpsed through just a few small windows in an ocean almost entirely unseen. It's almost too much to hold, isn't it? That all this richness came from so little looking. And here's the quiet marvel underneath it. Every one of those creatures was down there long before we ever looked. The corals were growing, a hair's breadth at a time, for centuries before any camera ever found them. The great squid drifted through the deep for 100 years, known to us only through fragments, and for countless ages before that, entirely unknown. None of it was waiting for us. None of it needed us to arrive. It was all simply there, living its slow, quiet life in the dark, complete and at peace, long before we came, and carrying on exactly the same now that we've gone. And what we saw is surely only the gentlest hint of what waits. For every sponge on that one boulder, there must be countless boulders we'll never reach. For every glimpse of a garden, whole gardens in the dark we'll never find. For every ghost that drifted past a camera, others beyond counting, moving quietly through water no light has ever entered. It isn't a frightening thought. It's an enormous, calming one. That the wonder isn't running out. That there's more of it than we could ever exhaust, resting down there in the dark, gently, endlessly, far more than we will ever see. Now, here's the thing I want to be careful about, because it would be easy to make this frightening, and it isn't frightening at all. When we think of the vast unknown, we're so often taught to fill it with dread, to imagine that what we haven't seen must be lurking, waiting, threatening. But that's not what's down there, and you know it now, after all these nights. What's down there is more of what we've already found. More quiet gardens, more slow, gentle giants, more living lights drifting in the dark, more of that deep, calm, patient life getting on peacefully with itself in water no one has ever seen. The unknown here isn't a threat. It's simply more of the same gentle wonder, waiting quietly in the dark, whether or not anyone ever comes to find it. And there's something wonderfully restful in that, I think, in not knowing, in letting the vast dark stay vast and dark and unknown, and being at peace with it. We spend so much of our lives needing to know, needing to understand, to solve, to see all the way to the bottom of things. But here is a whole ocean that quietly refuses to be fully known, and there's no anxiety in it at all. It doesn't need us to map it or to understand it. It simply carries on in the dark, complete in itself, keeping its secrets gently, asking nothing of anyone. And there's a quiet freedom in that, if you let there be, the permission to not know, to let some things stay mysterious and be perfectly all right with it. You don't have to understand everything before you sleep. You don't have to reach the bottom of every question or shine a light into every dark corner. All the questions of the day, all the things left unresolved, all the matters still waiting for answers, you can let them be for now, the way this ocean lets itself be unknown. They don't all have to be solved before you rest. They can stay open and unfinished and quietly whole, and you can sleep anyway, held gently in the not knowing, the way the dark sea holds its own deep secrets calmly and without the slightest worry, all through the endless night. Think of it, one more time, as the whole of it. This vast, dark, sealed sea, running for thousands of kilometers beneath the ice around the edges of a continent. almost none of it ever seen, almost all of it holding its quiet life, its slow, gentle creatures, its drifting lights, entirely unknown to us, entirely at peace. A whole world down there, going about its ancient, patient business in the dark, indifferent to whether we ever find it, complete without us, and calm. There's something almost tender about a place like that, a place that doesn't need to be seen to be whole, that asks for no witness and keeps no account, and simply is quietly, in the dark, whether we know it or not. And maybe that's the gentlest thought to carry as we begin, soon, to make our way back up, that we've been guests here, in this hidden sea, that we've been shown a little, just a little, of something vast and quiet and mostly unknown, and that when we go, when we rise back up through the water and the ice toward the surface and toward sleep, all of this will simply carry on without us, exactly as it always has. The gardens will keep growing, a hair's breadth at a time. The lights will keep drifting through the dark. The great gentle things will keep passing slowly through the black. All of it going on in the vast, unseen, deep, quietly, patiently, whether or not there is anyone there to see. It's a good way to leave a place, I think, knowing it will be all right without you, that you can rise and go and let it be, and it will simply continue, unbothered, complete. It was here long before us, and it will be here long after, going on exactly the same in the dark, needing nothing from us at all. So when we do begin to rise, in a little while, we can go lightly. We can leave it all down there, whole and calm and unbothered, and carry nothing back up with us but the quiet wonder of having seen a little of it. There's no sadness in that, only peace, the deep, settled peace of knowing that the world is far larger and far gentler and far more full of quiet wonder than we will ever fully see, and that it doesn't need us to see it, to go on being exactly that. So let the not knowing be soft tonight. Let the vast, dark ocean stay vast and dark and mostly unseen, and let that be a comfort rather than a question. We saw a little. It was enough, and all the rest of it is still down there quietly, holding its wonder gently in the dark, asking nothing, waiting for no one, perfectly at peace, an ocean we've barely seen and never needed to, resting whole and calm at the bottom of the world. Only the silence remains. We've reached the end of the journey now, the last of it. There's nothing more to learn tonight, and nothing more to see. All that's left is the going home, the slow, quiet rising, back up through all the dark we came down through, toward the surface, and the stillness, and sleep. So let's rise, gently. There's no hurry. We'll go the way we came, only backwards, and slower, and softer still. You've spent so long going down these past many nights, deeper and darker and further from the light. And now, at last, the whole of it turns, and we begin the long, slow, gentle rising home. It's the easiest part of the journey, this. The going down asked something of you, the letting go, the trusting, the sinking into the dark. But the coming up asks nothing at all. You only have to let yourself be lifted and carried and brought home softly while the deep releases you and the surface waits quietly far above. Let yourself begin to lift, up off the deepest dark where the great gentle thing passed close, up away from the seafloor with its ancient gardens, its slow giants, its corals older than we can say. You don't have to do anything to rise. The water carries you softly, the way it held you all along. Just let yourself drift upward, weightless and calm, through the cold black water toward the far-off surface, one slow drift at a time. There's a lovely ease to rising like this. No effort, no swimming. The water simply lets you rise gently, upward, the way a slow bubble lifts through still dark water, turning a little, drifting a little, in no hurry at all. The deep releases you softly. It doesn't hold you back. It simply lets you go, up and away, back toward the world above, while it stays behind in its patient dark, exactly as it always has. Up through the deep, where the living lights still drift. You pass them as you rise, the soft blue glows, the faint green pulses, the whole quiet scattering of living stars in the dark. They don't follow you. They stay, drifting in their deep water, shining their cool, small lights, exactly as they will all through the night. You simply rise past them gently, and they grow faint below you, and then they're gone, and there's only the dark water still, and you, lifting slowly through it, up and up, past the depth where the fish drift with their clear, cold blood, past the great swarms of small, glowing things turning slowly in the dark, past the quiet gardens on their far-off floor, the giants stepping softly, the ancient corals keeping their slow, patient time, all of it below you now, all of it staying behind, going quietly on without you, exactly as it should. You're rising away from it all softly, back toward the world above, leaving the deep to its slow, patient life, whole and calm and undisturbed, the way you found it. Notice how gently everything releases you. Nothing down here clings, or calls you back, or asks you to stay. The whole deep simply lets you go softly, the way sleep will let go of the day. Each thing you pass grows faint and quiet and settles below you, and you rise on, lighter and lighter, leaving the dark water to close softly behind you, calm and undisturbed. There's a deep kindness in how easily it lets you leave, as though the sea itself were saying gently, "You can go now. Rest now. It's all right. We'll keep on, down here in the dark, just as we always have. You don't need to stay." And now, above you, something changes. The water begins, very faintly, to lighten. Not much. Just the first far-off hint of gray, high overhead, where the deepest dark begins to thin. You're nearing the underside of the ice now, the great floating ceiling we slipped beneath so many nights ago. It spreads out above you, vast and pale and still, the roof of this whole hidden sea, and somewhere in it, far off, the faint way back up, the long, slow climb through the ice toward the surface and the open air. Rise toward it softly, up toward the pale ceiling and through it, the way we came, up through the deep ice, through all those quiet, frozen kilometers slowly, without effort, without a sound. The dark water falls away below you. The ice rises around you and then past you, pale and blue and endless, glowing very faintly with the first far light from above. And little by little, that light grows and warms and pales until gently, without any sudden moment, you come up through the last of it and out. And here we are, back at the surface, back at the top of the world. It's very quiet here, quieter even than the deep. All around you, in every direction, the ice stretches away, flat and white and endless, meeting a pale sky at the far edge of things. The wind has gone still. The light is soft and low and gray, the light of a place where the sun keeps its own slow hours, and over all of it lies a silence so complete, so vast, so gentle, that it seems to reach all the way to the horizon and beyond. The white surface and the pale sky and the enormous quiet holding everything. Maybe there's snow falling softly as you stand here, the lightest snow drifting down out of the pale sky without a sound, settling slowly over the white world, a few flakes turning gently in the still air, coming to rest on the ice, one by one, in perfect silence. It's the kind of snow that makes the quiet even deeper. Each flake so light it makes no sound at all as it lands, and yet, together, they hush the whole world further still, laying a soft new stillness over everything, gentle as a blanket being drawn up. You could stand here and watch it for hours, the slow, silent falling, the flakes drifting down through the gray, the white world growing softer and quieter beneath them. There's nothing to do but watch it fall. Nothing to do but breathe and be still and let the snow settle over the end of the journey. Stand here a moment in that stillness and just breathe it in. The air is cold and clean and utterly calm. Nothing moves but the falling snow. Nothing hurries. There's no sound anywhere, no wind, no water, no living thing stirring. Only the vast white plain stretching away and the low, soft sky above it, and a silence so deep and so wide that it feels less like the absence of sound than like a presence all its own. A great, gentle, living quiet, lying over the whole white world, soft as snow, endless as the sky. This is where we began, so long ago. Right here, on the surface, at the top of the ice, before we ever went down. And here we are again, back where we started, with the whole long journey behind us now. The ice, the dark water, the sealed sea, the life, the lights, the ghosts, the gentle presence that passed close in the black. All of it, below us now. All of it, going on quietly, in the deep, beneath the white and silent surface, whether or not there is anyone to see. There's something perfect about ending where we began. The whole journey, come full circle, down through the ice, into the dark, all the way to the bottom, and back up again, to this same white quiet where it started, as though it were always going to end here, as though the going down and the coming back were always one single gentle motion, a slow breath in and a slow breath out, beginning and ending in the same soft stillness. And now the breath is complete. The journey has closed its circle, and there's nothing left to do but rest. And it feels right, doesn't it? To come back up before you sleep. Not to be left down there in the cold and the dark, but to rise gently, all the way home, back to the quiet surface, back to the soft gray light, and to rest here, warm and safe and far from the deep, with all its wonders tucked safely away below you, going on without you. While you sleep, you visited the deep, you saw its quiet marvels, and now you've come home again, to the still white surface, where it's soft and calm and safe, and there's nothing left to do but close your eyes. You don't have to think of any of it now. You don't have to hold on to a single moment of the journey. Let it settle and sink and drift away below the ice, the way everything down here drifts slowly and out of sight. It's all still there. It will always be there. And you can let it go gently and simply rest here on the quiet surface at the end of the long way home, There's nothing left to do now, nowhere left to go. The journey is over, and it ended exactly where it began, here, in the white silence, at the top of the world. All the wonder is below you, sleeping in the dark. And all around you now is only the surface, and the stillness, and the soft gray light, and the deep, endless, gentle quiet. Let that quiet be the last thing. Let it spread all through you, the way it spreads across the ice, soft and wide and endless. There's nothing beneath it but the patient deep, holding all its quiet life, going gently on. And there's nothing above it but the pale, still sky. Only the surface, only the silence, only the soft, white quiet, reaching out in every direction, holding you as the long night settles and the last of the light goes low. Let it take you now, that silence. Let it soften the edges of everything, the day behind you, the journey behind you, every thought still drifting through your mind. Let them all grow quiet and settle and go still, the way the white world has gone still all around you. There's nothing you need to carry any further, nothing you need to keep hold of. You can set it all down, here, on the soft white surface, and let the great quiet take it and hold it and let you rest. The ice is still, the sea is still far below, and the great white silence lies over all of it, soft and endless, holding the whole sleeping world. Below you, in the dark, the gardens grow, and the lights drift, and the gentle things pass slowly through the deep, all of it going on, quiet and patient and calm, all through the long night, needing nothing, asking nothing, perfectly at peace. And here, on the surface, under the pale, still sky, there is only the silence now, only the soft, white quiet, only the deep, endless calm settling over everything as the last of the light fades and the night draws gently in. Rest now. The journey is done. Let the silence carry you the rest of the way, down gently into sleep.